Hello. Testing, testing.
Hello.
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 Hi, Hyung.
Gonna push buttons.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, guys. So it works.
It works.
Fine.
Sorry, my glasses and my shirt clash.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't going to say anything. Even I can.
You know, I need a pink pair of pink glasses or a darker shirt, clearly. So I won't do this again.
Just get something green. It'll tie it together.
Well, that would probably be the
Get
right answer.
green scarf, fashion accessories.
I might have a scarf somewhere that I could, yeah. Anyway, okay, so I filled in the agenda into the Hedge doc. People are still joining. Our AD has joined. Oh no. What's going to happen now? I'm looking for, oh, Lorenzo is here. Lorenzo is here?
I'm here, yes.
Yes, okay. I wasn't sure if you were connected because when it says participant next to people's name, oh no, Zulip user. Karsten is now a participant, not just a Zulip user. Yeah, okay. So my goal here today is to reach some kind of document that we would say is non-affordance type things. Yari. I just noticed that's Ari is just Yari without a J. Does your mother know?
She must have made a typo.
Yeah. So let me see here. I'm going to share my screen. Accept. Do you want to accept this? I reminded us of this thing that came from a previous effort on non-affordance. And what else did I do? This morning I cloned, I'm just going to close a bunch of tabs that I'm sure I don't need. Maybe. Somewhere's here, I have a GitHub where I have, oh yes, clone the template. I see that Dr. Lee has, is that right? It's Dr. Lee has sent me XML files for the digital twin document. And so what I want to do is I want to put it in the repo. I was kind of hoping to do that. And then I want to kind of walk through. And my notion is that we're going to basically, we're not going to do this. We'll get things started, but I want to just let you know where we're at. Basically what I want to do as a group is I want to walk through and sort of say, it's a digital twin thing. It's a non-affordance text. And we kind of just, unzipper it that way. Does that make sense to other people? Is this what you're here for? Bart, I saw that you uploaded slides. That was beyond the need for today, because I didn't think there was anything particularly changed in NIPSI, but do you want to go through your slides? We have time. And is there something you wanted to bring up specifically about NIPSI? Otherwise, I'm going to say thank you, and we'll just continue on to the digital non-affordance work.
Just 5 minutes, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, okay. So grab the let me see. I can do all of the shared slides are taken. I have to turn that off.
Yeah, just thank you very much, Michael. Since Ari also commented on the list, I just want to make sure that I explain where everything is right now, if that's okay. So on data tracker, we have still draft 03, right? However, a lot of the work has progressed in the maybe we could go to the next slide.
You
Michael.
have slide control.
I can have control. Awesome. Thank you. Apologies. In the repo, however, if you look at Ari, you commented on having done a typo review, and thank you for that. So that's already been fully merged into main. So we're past that. All of the open API models that go into draft 4, as well as the CDDL descriptions and all of that are also already in main. There's a bunch of sample SDF models there as well. And then there's a branch, a draft ASDF draft 04, I think BART branch, where the text is being worked on draft 4. So hopefully that should go into main pretty quickly. Once it's in main, or actually when the PR goes to bring that into main, obviously it would be nice for you to review. I'll look at Ari's comments, which were done in draft 03, and see if they carry through to draft 04, and if they do, I will update that. Ari, thank you very much. And so we'll try to get draft 04 out ASAP, definitely before our next interim, which I'm sure we're going to decide on before the end of the meeting. So thank you, Ari, for the feedback, and that's kind of where we're at. I don't know if there's any questions around that specifically or remarks. Okay, and then I just wanted to reiterate two important things that I talked about last time as well, and that I want to make sure that everybody's okay with this kind of concept. Is now when you want to do a NIPSI operation, you have to do two things. You have to register an instance and an interaction model, so the SDF model. And once you do that, you can do NIPSI operations, so operations on properties or actions or events. And then events are published on the NIPSI event publishing interface, supporting CBOR over MQTT and HTTP. So that's kind of the big change in draft 4. The other big change in draft 4 is a change that we propose in SDF, which is to include a protocol map. And the reason that we did not call this like NIPSI protocol map, but just protocol map, because we feel like we can reuse this we could use the same JSON in NIPSI as well as in SDF, and potentially in kind of other things going forward as well. So that's why we kind of structured it this way. So it's called protocol map. Then there's the protocol the protocol definition, in this case BLE, and then the actual protocol map on kind of how does this property map to a BLE property. So I think these, if we all kind of agree on these principles, then I think we're kind of good to go with draft 4.
Yeah, I think the queue isn't quite working, but I think so let's jump in here.
Oh, just unmute, please. There's too few of us to manage the queue.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Karsten, if I jumped you on the queue. So yeah, I think like in principle, I think the idea looks good. Maybe we can discuss about the email, how we structure the information and all of that. But I think it's fine to put it in the draft first, and then we can discuss the all in context.
Okay, awesome. All right. Thank you, Ari.
And also what I realized with my review, I actually did the review before Dublin meeting, but forgot to send it. So I only did the Hypofix PR because that's what we discussed in the hackathon. So basically now I rewrote my old review into an email that I finally managed to send. So then what I will do, I won't send the rest of the review before the new draft is in the main, and then I'll review it in the main.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that would be nice. And then because you can review the whole document, because there's quite a lot of text in draft 04 yet, but it's not complete.
Yeah.
And then once it's complete, obviously your review would be appreciated before we, pull the draft into we actually release the draft itself.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, my advice would be to be a little bolder in actually submitting drafts. I mean, we are still in a pretty formative stage. We all know that. So nobody will believe that the things that are in the draft are already working group consensus or something like that. So I think really the authors should push this forward and make sure we have a reasonably current view in the internet draft. I mean, it's great to have pull requests and have a little bit of review going on before that, but we shouldn't have pull requests that sit there for a month or so. But we should try to actually put things into the main document and make sure this is a document that makes sense. That would be my recommendation.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carl.
I agree that makes sense, because I mean, then it's good to have something relatively up to date in the internet draft, because then it's easy to send it around to colleagues and friends. So yeah. But
And we have 99 revision numbers, so
you have room.
Okay, 96 to go. Okay.
Really? Only 99?
no, actually 100. But I didn't want to do the off by one thing here.
All right. Thank you, Carsten. Yeah, we'll try to get the draft 04 out. I think there's a lot of change between 03 and 04, so we kind of wanted to get it right, and we also were doing the implementation at the same time. So
right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put pressure on you. I just wanted to relieve any duty you might be perceiving for the thing to be completely perfect before you publish the next internet draft.
Yeah, we strive for perfection, Carsten. Thank you. Yeah, I understand. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Got it. Yeah.
And Bart, what you can do? I mean, you can do a PR already. I can comment on the PR on the draft text if it's relatively stable. Maybe that makes sense, because now I did find your branch now, and it would have been actually convenient to comment on that directly already. So that's one way. Just do a PR already now, and then just merge it when you're done with it, and then you can choose whether to implement some of the comments already there.
Okay, we'll do that. I'll note the PR which sections are still under construction.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, can do that. Thank you, Ari.
And I just want to emphasize the point, and I found that some of people, particularly academics, are really reluctant to let anyone see their, edits. But I'm not sure we limited to 99 releases. But anyway, I was going to say integers are cheap and plentiful, and I would rather have more posts and be annoyed by that than fewer.
Thank you, Michael. Got it. All right. Next steps. We're still finalizing the implementation. We're working on the draft 04 text. We still have to kind of do the skim work. We'll include that in the draft as well. We haven't really kind of double clicked on that, and then we'll go to review. So what I'll probably do, because like bullet point 2, we could probably get to quicker than, I'm probably, based on your recommendations here, release a draft 4 and then work on the SDF reference in Skim and add that maybe in a draft 5 then. Thank you very much. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, if we
Carsten,
are
go
on the
ahead.
agenda level again, then I cannot queue up for a specific agenda item. I only can queue up, so that's why I was in the queue all the time.
Go ahead.
I think the important observation is that we have a new internet draft we should be looking at. I don't know how to do that, except by everybody just opening the internet draft. And I made one slide about that, which I would like to present at some point before we go into details on this.
I would say go ahead, Carsten. So you want slide control or what?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Boo, boo, boo. I think you just need to ask, right? Okay. Sorry.
Did you refresh the slides already?
Yeah. Sorry. Hang on here. I need to get rid of these slides.
Yes.
Share slides. Click stop slides. There we go. Is it called off device?
Yes.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's great that we have a version of the ASDF digital twin draft now that really goes into the direction of looking at the non-affordance information. And I feel a little bit guilty for maybe having contributed to calling it that way, because we haven't really fully understood what the interaction model for this kind of information is. And right now, it seems the main difference to the information we already can deal with is that the information can be off device. So that's the focus I'm going to have. I'm not going to say we have to rename it every 5 minutes, but I think we need to think about what kind of information is it. And looking at the draft, I get a strong feeling that the what is called SDF non-affordance in the draft is pretty much similar to SDF property, except that well, it's not something that the device manages, but that is managed for the device by somebody else. And I think we have two somewhat orthogonal problems here. One is actually talking about the entity that does the management of that information, of the off-device information, and maybe there is more than one entity. So that's really one thing that we have to keep in mind. And so this is one direction of thinking. And the other direction of thinking is what structure does this information have, and how do we model it? So when we talked about non-affordance information, we assumed that there weren't going to be something like actions or events, which maybe isn't true. We have to think about that. But we had a focus on information that actually is rather isomorphic to SDF property. And if you look at the example, the new example in the new draft, It's not entirely the same, but it's going into the direction of being a few more properties like location. I don't know what report is, but there is additional information that is out there that you can read, that maybe even you can write given the right access rights, and that describes the device in a way that the device itself doesn't have information about. And of course, when we do this information model, we have to keep in mind that it's an information model. It's not the actual information. It's an information model that describes how this information looks like. And we also need to discuss instance representations that we might be using for accessing it. So for the property, it's clear that the ecosystem defines a protocol that does the property access. And we probably want to do something similar for the off-device information and actually deal with ecosystems in that space as well, because everybody and their friends have their own idea of what a digital twin is. So we won't get an exactly one structure. We probably need to have something like an ecosystem concept there as well. And we might do the protocol mapping in the ecosystem, and actually in a way that is similar to what Bart has shown. So we probably can learn from that end. But the information model first of all needs to say a coordinate has a latitude, a longitude, and maybe an optional altitude. And that would be the information model here. Okay, so this is how I'm looking at this at the moment. And again, it's great that we have this draft to look at now, which very much goes into a similar direction.
I'm not sure what conclusions to make. Ari and Michael, please just go ahead.
You go ahead first, Michael.
Oh, sure, thanks. Listening to Karsten, I had a few thoughts also that I think we're on the right track. I mean, I think this is definitely the next step to do, is to split this out and to have a draft that supports digital twin by defining, what we're calling non-affordance information. What I think we still need to have some kind of common grounding on what we mean by digital twin. And so I think a lot of the statements made in the draft are supportive of that. I think a lot of that stuff could be condensed into the intro. A lot of those bullet points aren't things that we're going to specify. So they're really more like background about what's a digital twin. But I think we need to sort of agree that what we want in representing a digital twin is we want to represent things that are beyond what we can just communicate with. In other words, we want to describe things at the system level. So we want to have things in our model that aren't things that you can directly communicate with, but are things that provide what we used to call the contextualization for the telemetry data. But that's actually kind of become, we've inverted that picture now, and it's sort of like, okay, actually the model of the physical plant or home or building or whatever you have, city, is actually the primary thing we're interacting with, and then we're getting data points from that, and that's really what a digital twin is. I think we could argue about a lot of terms, but that's what we're all building, right? So we need a meta model for the system, and in context of SDF, it occurs to me that we already have metadata to describe events, actions, and properties, but we don't have metadata to describe objects and things. And that if we took an approach that was like sort of oriented along that, we're talking about where do we put it and what do we call it. And so I think that's sort of a bit of a generalization on the problem we're looking at. And I know the conclusion to draw from that is that we might just want to have a separate category that right now the draft says it's location, but it actually needs to be a different name. And I think we're already looking at that. that sort of structure. So I think I'd like to, so I'm going to need to drop off at 8:30 for about 15 minutes. So that's why I'm sort of preempting the discussion with my thoughts. But those are my thoughts. And I think that we need to think about something that looks structurally similar to what's being shown in the draft, but rename the thing that's location to something like, you know, non-affordance, off device. I kind of like the term attribute, you know, I don't think that's being used anywhere. So, you know, something like that. But what it does is it describes objects and it describes things. In addition to what we already have, a lot of metadata that describes affordances.
So you're not crazy about non-affordance or off-device.
Oh, you know, I think we still need to think about
it sounds
a
like
name
a bike shed discussion
yeah,
for you.
exactly. I'm agreeing. Yep. Thanks.
Yeah, I think the naming thing sounds like something we should discuss in Madrid over something. Yeah, because I definitely, the non-affordance was just a placeholder for the initial discussion. I'm kind of still looking for the right word too, but I think I like the idea at Karsten Pro that have this playground for the off-defined information models, because I think like once we see a bunch of them, I think the naming will emerge more naturally. One thing
let's not worry about the term exactly until we have a few kind of examples. Digital twin is one example, or digital twin contains many examples?
Yes.
Yes.
I think we're
okay. So we will have
digital twins with this concept.
We're going to implement digital twin with this concept. What I'm trying to get at is, are we going to implement other things as well? And I guess that's what we're trying to get at.
So what do you mean by other thing? I mean, you can call anything a digital twin. So how can something be other than digital twin?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at, right? I'm trying to get at is the within the framework of digital twin abstractions, we have many, call them off devices or non-affordances, or are you saying that digital twin is the first non-affordance and there's other ones that are not like that? And
I would say this digital twin is a use case for using this kind of information, but this kind of information could be used in a variety of different contexts.
So it can be used for things that are not digital twins.
Yes. Although, as Karsten said, you could say anything is a digital twin, but it goes into semantics. But maybe something what we don't have to solve here, because what I think will come out naturally is that once we have this spec that defines the model for this kind of information, it will be agnostic. And then we have this other graph that says, hey, when you do digital twin stuff, here's how you use it.
Yep. Very good.
I think that kind of solves this digital twin terminology issue.
Yeah, and I think the important observation is that we have this ecosystem concept that actually worked pretty well for doing the on-device information, and we probably want to use something like this, so we can have shared information models between different ecosystems.
And I joined the queue after Bart because I have another topic around.
Go ahead, Bart, then.
Well, I actually have a question, because Michael mentioned attributes as a name, and I think that's quite a kind of an interesting name. But so is a non-affordance basically anything you cannot interact with? So like the color of a chair is also is also in this category? Like an attribute like a color, is that also a non-affordance?
Yes. I think a more interesting example is the serial number of a device. So some devices know their serial number and some don't. And in one case, we would be able to describe it in SDF today. And in the other case, we would need to understand what is the other place where we would obtain this information. And it may not even be an interaction to obtain this information, because there may just be a static data set associated with the device. And one thing I need to understand at some point is how useful SCIM is for actually maintaining some of these off-device pieces of information.
Well, if you're talking about a serial number, then it's tied to a specific instance. So then SCIM is very good at that, right? But if you're talking about the class of devices, like if we go back to the color of the chair, or does the chair have 4 legs or 3 legs, then SCIM obviously is not well suited for that, right? So
yeah, the serial number is a good example because we all know that things have different kinds of serial numbers. So we already have something like a class level understanding of serial numbers. So they are all different, but they have a certain structure probably.
Yeah, but if you look at like a digital twin, especially like a digital twin of a building, right? There's a lot of objects there that you can't interact with, right? That's why I used a chair as an example. But it may be very important that you know that a specific meeting room has 8 chairs and that they're soft versus hard because it's the boardroom, right? So these are all attributes of devices or things that may be important in a digital twin, but you totally can't interact with.
Yep. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think that these are good bases for this playground, to have a few of these kind of things, what we think would be useful, and then listing them and seeing like what emerges there. Like the general theme is indeed that you are not able to get that information. You would not get the information from the devices with this protocol means that we use for the affordance information, but it would be other kind of information.
Yeah, the fun part is that the device might know its serial number, so maybe you can even ask the device for that. Indeed. But there may be so it's not fundamental for a piece of information where you actually get it. Of course, a device that cannot interact at all, like a chair that hasn't gone on the net yet, you only have this non-affordance source. Bart brought up another interesting thing here, which is when we talk about digital twin, we might be talking about digital twins of entire buildings or something like that. And that means that we probably need to pay even more attention to the structure of the things than or in this case, they are not IoT things, they are just general things, than we do for our digital things.
Building digital twins, I think, are a pretty popular topic in that space. And as Bart says, there's lots of devices, lots of things. Even you can imagine, the not smart outlets in the room where you actually would know the circuit breaker, and you really want to know that, right? But the outlets are not smart in any way, right? They can't tell you their circuit breaker or their serial number.
So I'm working on the ASHRAE 223P committee, that's the whole thing is about modeling all those things in the building, and the communication is a thing that you have to go get a reference for to even communicate with anything. But I think that that's exactly what we're talking about with buildings, is to be able to model things that are also, that's why I said objects or things also have attributes that affordances different sets. But I think, and as Karsten said, yes, the descriptive power, what we need of SDF is, could be used in building models like this. And it's sort of a non-RDF approach where but it's kind of the same use case as I see it.
Ari and I think Bart was in the queue at some point, or please just unmute and speak. There's not so many of us.
Yeah, I just kept it there as a reminder that I had another thing to discuss. So Karsten, what you mentioned briefly in your slide description part was that how you interact with the information, and kind of The model that I have had in my head for this non-affordance information is that it's mainly in the SDF file itself. When you get a file that describes an instance or a class of instances, it's in the SDF file. But I guess you had ideas of like further indirection there, that you would actually get it from another source. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, so the interesting question is, what is the lifecycle phase in which we use our different description techniques? And SDF is really designed in such a way that you can use it at design time. So there is no runtime requirement to it. You can translate this into something that you can do in your ecosystem, and you are fine. So SDF doesn't describe runtime specifics. It doesn't describe instance information and so on. And when we want to talk about instance information, we really should be talking about the message context in which this instance information actually turns up. So when do I actually communicate about the location of a device? If a device is static and installed in a building, that is going to be a very different interaction than if I have a device that is mounted in a ship and is moving with a ship. So we cannot ignore the communication context in which we talk about that. And we should not assume that all that communication will happen in SDF language. We again will have ecosystems for that.
Okay, but wouldn't you then typically have an affordance for such information that changes over time more often than what you would give a new SDF file for?
Yes, but on what thing is that affordance?
That is a good question. Well, what I'm thinking, would you then maybe, I think that's the moving ship example. If we take that, there I wouldn't put location in this non-affordance information style, because it's of course would be changing over time. I would do a normal affordance for it. That would be a location object, and with set of properties to get the value. However,
would that be a relative location then?
Yeah, probably that would be the case. That you would have relative location in the non-affordance, and then you have basically an SDF relation to another instance that of a thing or an object that actually gives you the absolute reference point, for example. Now I'm designing here by fly, but that's the kind of mental model I would have. So it wouldn't not be non-affordance information, the dynamic part.
Yeah, so the item that actually has a location may still be the same. When you have a diesel engine, that diesel engine might be in a ship, or it might be somewhere in a factory, or it might be in a train. Probably they are slightly different, but they all essentially are the same diesel engine. So the specific valve in that engine is going to have a location, of course. It's a third from the left. And that happens to be static, and then we have dynamic components that have to do with the fact that the surrounding assembly is actually moving, and now you suddenly need somebody to talk to get real-time versions of that information. But in the end, of course, we are doing all this because we assume there is some digital form of this. And that digital form may just be tied to the device. So the device knows best. The temperature sensor knows best what its temperature is. Or it may be something that is really outside the control or the perception of the device, and it is managed by somebody else. So the room number for a temperature sensor, that is off-device information.
So for instance, I'm thinking here, Star Trek with Commander Scotty trying to fix the engine, right? And he asks the question, will the engine operate? And the answer is on the ship, no, because the engine room is underwater, which includes the third valve from the left. And so that won't work. And that's the kind of information you would want to get back, that you need to go up several layers and over to find out if it even is possible. Is that an example?
Certainly.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different factors. And one way you could model this, that let's say the ship has a location, sorry, or the train has a location, and the engine has relative location to the ship or train, is that you would enclose within a thing the motor thing, and then be able to have the structure. But then I guess that's one thing about how you model things. But then I guess what you, Karsten, mentioned about like who is in control of the information, I guess that maybe have just slightly different implications how you model it.
Yeah, we so far we have successfully avoided doing an access control model for our information. At some points we will have to do that, or actually again probably have ecosystem access control models that we interface to. So right now we have fully resolved information. Something is writable, something is readable, but we are not discussing who might be the one who reads and writes.
Another thing we just sort of identified is that this other category of non-affordance, whatever we want to call it, also needs a binding to how you can get. Some of it might be literal in an SDF file, but that's, as Karsten says, that's sort of an instance, and so it doesn't really. A lot of the examples are little shortcuts that say location and then give a geocoordinate, but that's probably not really going to be what they end up looking like.
So what we can do in SDF, we can create an engine model that has multiple valves, and we have 8 valves that are in the model instances of a valve, but themselves are still abstract, right? Because the engine is still not instantiated, as it were.
So we have objects and things, and we can model them as objects. But then when we want to try to describe them, we only have affordances. We don't have a fourth category of descriptive metadata for objects and things.
But we could describe an engine with 4 cylinders.
Oh yeah, we could. Yeah. The object tree could be created. Yeah, the thing with objects or thing with other things and objects underneath. Yes, exactly.
I'm saying that
the multi-outlet extension code was our standard example for something that has multiple instances of something else in it.
So I'm just trying to distinguish the case of an engine with 4 or 8 cylinders, from the case of a ship with 2 engines, right?
When we want to say what the diameter of the cylinder is, then we don't have a place to put that, or a thing to call the place we put it.
Because that's not an information that's like the color. It's just
not an affordance. Well, it could be the color also. We just don't have it as part of an affordance.
Well, it could be an affordance to something that is an asset management system.
Yeah, you could say here's a property, and I think that's why because Karsten says it aligns very closely with property. Here's a property, and that property describes the diameter of the cylinder, and that property. But then in SDF, we're sort of forced to say that property is an affordance, and I think this is a conceptual gap as much as textual or representational. Information model style. It's just that that we could say that the property has a color property, but you can't read it. It doesn't have any.
It has a color,
readable.
But we don't know what it is.
Well, you could so you could put that color in. You could just put a literal in and say what the color is. Like it's say constant blue or something like that. But that's all awkward, right? This is the problem we're trying to solve. I think exactly.
So before we kind of move on, Karsten, that's your last slide, right?
Yes.
Okay. So before we move on, I just want to go around the room and I'm just going to ask people if they have any questions or if they understand what we've done, what we've just discussed so far. So I'm just going to start at the bottom of my list and go with Rohit. Do you have any questions?
No.
No? Jan?
I do have a lot of questions, but yeah, we'll deal with them maybe offline and come back to you later.
Okay.
But it's a very interesting topic.
Young Hai?
No, I don't have any question. Thank you.
I'll just change my order, my list each time you guys do. Okay, this is Hun Young.
Yes, I have some opinions about that. Actually, we would like to define the non-affordance things. I think that affordance is a device connected to the internet, and non-affordance is an object such as a chair or a desk. Is the Kirsten, do you mean by that? I think we'd better define the non-affordance first. And in my opinion, all objects in the space can be represented as digital twins, but considering the ROI, only meaningful objects are represented as a digital twin. When representing objects as a digital twin, some information can be defined as information defined in SDF, and information that cannot be defined as SDF was considered as non-affordance, I think. And in the example of engine operation that Carsten said, ISO 23247 Part 3 defines the relationship between the engine and the person operating it as a relationship. That's my opinion. Thank you. And I sent the presentation material to Michael.
Oh. Did I miss the presentation material?
Right.
Oh, you had a PDF, but I thought that was of your draft. It's not?
After that, I sent the PPT file.
Okay, I got it. Do you want me to share it here?
Yes.
Okay, just give me a second here. There. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Go ahead. Take the floor, please. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'm in Geneva to attend the IETF SG11 meeting. Unfortunately, there is no meeting at this time, so I'm attending this meeting. I'll have a short talk for the document entitled SDF modeling for digital twin. I slightly changed the title as SDF modeling. Next slide, please. In this version, we split the digital twin from the previous version 5. Next slide, please. As I'm a beginner at GitHub, because I haven't been coding for last 10 years, so I have only uploaded the file in my personal directory, and I wish it to be added in the ASDF directory. Next slide, please. In the information attribute of digital twin, there are affordance and non-affordance information. The examples of non-affordance information are property, action, and event, which were defined in the SDF document. And the examples of non-affordance information are schedule, location, report, things like that, that are not defined in the SDF document. And these kind of information attributes are defined in the ISO 23247 Part 3 document. Next slide, please.
Is that document published yet?
Yes.
And
yes.
Is it easy? Is it available, or do we need to do we need a magic handshake?
I'm the project leader of ISO 23247 Part 3, so I can share the FDI's version of ISO document.
Thanks. That would be great if you can share that with the working group so we can all be on the same page. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we think that the SDF modeling for zeta twin will be the normative track, and we will add more information to represent an SDF thing as a zeta twin, such as history, relationships, and etc. And the second standard will be the SDF extensions for non-affordance information that is under development by my colleague, Dr. Hong. And the third standard will be developed or be the part of the second standard. That's it. Thank you.
Any questions from the group? So I did take your XML file and I put it into a Martin Thompson template, and it's now in the IETF working group SDF thing. Let me see. I'll just turn this off and go back to sharing. This part. There we go. So I did get your document in there. I created an empty document here. And I need to give you ownership of this repo as well. We have 20 minutes left. What I was originally envisioning was that we were going to open up this document in text mode, and basically we were going to go my idea was we would go through and mark text as this is non-affordance text and we need to put it in the other document, and I'm hoping that would inspire someone even to run with the document at that point. Does that make any sense to anybody? Or am
Well, it certainly doesn't make sense to me, but no, it doesn't, because I try to read things before working on them.
Yes, fair enough. Yeah. I'm just trying to struggle to figure out how we can get coordinated to work as a group. We're not a very big group. And what I kind of don't want is people off feeling that they're stucky for something they don't know what they're doing with. And so I'm you know, as you say, it's easier for some people want to work at their own pace and some people want to have help, and that's what I'm asking about. What do we do next?
Assign homework.
Assign homework. Okay. Who can I assign homework to? Who would like to who can I assign to create a non-affordance or whatever we're calling it piece of internet draft?
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind turning this into a markdown file so I can actually edit it.
I was going to ask you that too, but I don't. It's actually not that big a document, so I mean, I could have done it manually myself too.
And I would have to read it, and then I probably could make a proposal, like in the form of a pull request, how this could be structured.
Okay. Well, I won't say no to that. I am concerned that there's many things on your plate.
Yes.
Dr. Hong, please go ahead. Just unmute.
Thank you. As Dr. Lee she mentioned in her presentation, I think the current version that she submitted is already splitted only the digital twin part from the previous version.
Okay.
So I don't think we need to go over all the text in the GitHub to split it in two. And the other thing is for internet draft for non-affordance information, I'm planning to write a internet draft. So maybe we can review it once I make it and submit it later
Okay.
in the next meeting.
I
Or
propose to invite you to this repository that I've
yes,
created, and this could become your file. We lost Francesca. That was really weird. Her name went ghosted and then it disappeared. But okay. Anyway, yeah. So I'm proposing to invite you to this repository. I just set up the template. It's completely empty, except that I put the digital twin XML file in there. And Karsten proposes to change it to Markdown. And Dr. Hong is going to start a draft on non-affordance. Is that what I understood you to say?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And yeah, before that, I wonder when I ready to submit the draft, should I submit to the IETF ID system as well, or just
Yes.
submit on the both here GitHub and also the ID submit
Yeah.
system?
And just to note that Monday is the internet draft cutoff for 122. So there is a bit of a if you don't get it in for then, well, we're not meeting at 122 in anyway, but so I guess there's not really any urgency to get it in for Monday.
Oh well, well I won't be able to do by Monday, so maybe later when the system is open, I'll try to do that. Thank you.
Okay, that would be perfect. So that reopens on the Saturday, the 17th or something, whatever day that is, 16th.
Actually,
maybe.
on Sunday morning.
I thought it was Saturday morning. No.
Last time I looked, it was Sunday morning.
Okay. Well,
Dublin,
Saturday or Sunday morning, it reopens on the week of IETF for that. Okay. So,
may I ask another question?
Please.
Yeah, well, I was not fully understand today's discussion about the non-affordance information. So my question is it did we agree to use the non-affordance information terminology, or will change to the SDF for off device, like Carson suggested?
I don't think we agreed to anything. I think that I think that we agreed not to pick a term yet, and that whether we call it non-affordance or off device or whatever, that just go with whatever you feel with for the moment, and that we need to come to a conclusion, but maybe we won't understand the question until we have more text to
I see.
to do that. Does that what other people feel, or did I get that wrong?
Yeah, sounds about right. That's why I like the SDF non-affordance, because it's obvious that's not the final name. So
yes.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's such a bad name that it should be obvious, not the final name.
It's such a bad name. Okay, so that's good. All right, we picked a really terrible name so that we can, yeah.
But maybe that's not obvious to everyone. Maybe it might be worth noting in the draft that, by the way, this is a placeholder. But yeah, I guess we'll be more clear once we have more text and especially more examples. So I mean, especially if the digital twin, the spec that you mentioned earlier, if that one has more examples, like extracting a few of those into the repo, I think that would be great.
I will make some examples that parallel to the other models that I'm building for buildings.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael.
Anybody else? I'm inclined to just declare the meeting closed at this point.
So one more comment that I think like this a lot of this discussion has actually relation, no pun intended, to the SDF relation draft. I think they are maybe the same coin, different sides, or could even have more commonalities. So maybe we should look at those together when we talk about this non-affordance / off-device information.
Right. My examples will use the relation, and we'll just basically have objects that have relations to each other or things.
So 47 hours from now, we have a 1DM meeting where we maybe can have a little bit more discussion of that.
Good point.
Indeed.
Did you? Yeah. Okay. Anything else from anybody? I don't think I finished getting through the list. Lorenzo, Bart,
no
any
question by
comment?
my side.
Nicholas,
Not really. I'm done.
when do we meet again?
You hear me? Or
Yes, we heard you.
yeah. Okay, my audio keeps popping off here. So okay. No, I don't have any strong insights into this.
When is our next meeting going to be? I don't. This is a bad slot actually for me, but I have to cancel a different meeting. But that's fine if that's the best slot. The Koreans, could you maybe suggest a better slot and time?
Yeah, this is Jongha, and we will appreciate if we can start like 4 hours earlier than today start time.
I'm sure that'll work in Europe too. Just Michael Koster and I will be uncomfortable, but Michael more than me, I guess.
I have other 4 a.m. meetings.
Okay, all right.
Or 3 hours ahead.
Okay, so 3 or 4 hours. So start at
Tuesday
11.
would be a conflict for me. So at 4 a.m. Tuesday is a conflict for me.
Okay, so not Tuesday. Okay, so 3 to 4 hours earlier, not Tuesday. All right, I'll propose a bunch of things. So we're going to April.
Yeah. Can you switch it to 2 to 3 hours earlier? I can stand for that. Yes, thank you.
Not Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday's more open for the later slot. It's just the 4 a.m. 4 hours earlier from now. Tuesday is a conflict, but the rest of Tuesday is open for me. So actually, it's a good day if it's just going to be 2 or 3 hours earlier.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just erase this. So 2 to 3 hours Tuesday on a Tuesday would work. So April.
So at least I would prefer not to have on Tuesday.
Okay, I don't care.
Like Mondays and Thursdays and sometimes even Wednesdays are better.
All right. So do you want me to set it a dual poll, or do we just pick something now? 2 to 3 hours earlier, that would be before any core or CBOR meeting on a Wednesday. Does that work?
Which day specifically?
I don't know, the 9th or the 16th. How about that? So 2 or 3 hours earlier. So at 2, Is that right?
That would,
That can't be right. So, oh, PM. That's PM. Sorry. That's no wonder I'm like really confused by this. So something like that.
And this is now summertime, right?
I guess.
It works for me.
But that's 5 o'clock Finnish time, which is
Yeah, it might not work for you, right?
yeah, it's that's the worst.
Yeah.
5 to 6 is the worst for me.
Does 1300 still work for you, Michael Koster? In Korea, that's
1300 what? 1300.
1300 UTC.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, actually, yeah. I'd have to sort of. There's that conflict, but I could do it. 1400 would be more perfect, but 1300 is doable.
I'm happy with 1400 if it works for US folks.
You're happy with 1300, but Michael is happier with 1400.
Just because there are no conflicts for me.
Yeah.
UTC. Was that the time we just said? Well, forget about the day, but is that the time we just said? 12. That's AM. We want PM.
PM, right? Yeah.
9 a.m. Ottawa, 4 p.m. Helsinki, 11 p.m. Seoul. That's not too terrible for you guys? And 6 a.m. for Mr. Koster, which for California, that's late. I mean, you've already been surfing and had done yoga, right?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's actually super comfortable for me. So earlier is not a problem except for conflicts.
All right, I will pick that day then. Okay, but on the whatever I said, the 9th or the 16th, would you preference?
I cannot do the 16th, so for me, the 9th.
Right, we'll do the 9th. Let's do the 9th. All right, next meeting on the 9th at 1400. That did not work. Okay, so we said.
So this is daylight savings time already.
I don't know. I let the computer figure out. That's I did not let the computer because I didn't pick the right thing. So sorry. Let me pick the actual date and let's make sure that we. Damn it! Why didn't it do the right thing? Helsinki. So that was not daylight savings time. So this is not the right time anymore? We went an hour earlier?
Yeah, that's bad.
So this is the correct time. Okay.
And I would be happy even 1 hour earlier if it works for others. But was there
going once, going twice, 1 hour earlier?
So on the 9th, there's a core interim meeting. We don't want to hit that.
Yeah, but it's at 10 a.m.
Yes.
So that's earlier in Korea as well. So this is what we wound up with then.
That's good for us.
Okay.
Works for me.
All right.
For me as well.
Good. We found a spot, and some of you I'll see in Bangkok, and some of you I won't. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.